Good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. Great team win on Saturday. Thought it was huge for us to get the Black Diamond Trophy back to Morgantown. First time since 2003. I know our fans were excited. Just great feeling in the locker room after the game. Those are some of those special moments that you remember for a long time. And I always tell our players if we could bottle that up and sell it, that feeling in the locker room, we'd make some money off that for sure. I thought it was a tremendous atmosphere for college football on Saturday. It was a great game. Probably if you were watching it on TV or you're in the stadium, maybe not participating in it on the sideline as coaches, but I thought the atmosphere was tremendous. I appreciate our fans for showing up and being loud. They didn't just show up; they were loud. They were into it. I'll recap that game and then we'll move on to the next one. Hit the highs and lows like I normally do. Special teams first. Just talking about what we got to improve on. We've got to punt the ball more consistently. We only punted the ball 4 times. One of them, Tyler hit a bomb and really flipped the field position. We were able to get a touchdown out of it. But the other 3, we've got to be more consistent. They had a big kickoff return on us. We've been really good here on kickoff for the last 3 years. But that was we let one get out on us, missed a couple tackles. And then the penalty on the kickoff return, we had a pretty decent return. And then we had a penalty that got moved back inside the 10, which is not what we're looking for. Positive special teams-wise, I thought Staley did a tremendous job on kickoffs. And really kind of we had 4 touchbacks, which I don't know if we'd had one the entire year. Well, yeah, we did. I take that back. Colton had a couple against LIU. I apologize. But I thought he was really good on kickoffs. Casey Legg, he drilled the 44-yarder. Right down the middle. And then, I felt like our field goal block team really – we did a nice job kind of squirting through and really affected the kick that they missed right before half. And our punt coverage was really good. We didn't have a whole lot of hang time on the 3 punts we had to cover. And I thought our gunners and our cover team got down really well. Defensively, the negatives first, 3rd and long. We let them convert. Not let them. They made plays. I don't want to take away from Virginia Tech, but they converted a 3rd and 17 and a 3rd and 24. And our situational awareness just has to be better. A couple penalties allowed 3rd down conversions as well. And then our communication in the secondary, I don't know if we handled the noise well. Even though it was at home, it was loud when they had the ball. And we've got to do a better job of communicating. That led to a couple explosive as well. The positives, I thought our sudden change was tremendous. You think about it, big kickoff return, no points. Both turnovers, no points. And so I think that ended up being the story of the game. Red zone wise, I think you all have talked about that a bunch. We've been really good in the red zone so far this year. And then we created negative plays, 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and then 2.5 yards per carry. So really good numbers on that end. Offensively, the negatives start with turnovers. That's kind of been our Achilles heel this year. Is 5 turnovers, 5 turnovers I believe on the year, and or a -5 turnover margin I should say on the year. We haven't done a very good job defensively taking it away, and then offensively, we've got to do a better job. It's hard to overcome. And we just barely did on Saturday. But 2 turnovers in the 4th quarter, failed to put the game away, and then 2 critical penalties. Had the game 27-7, and we converted 3rd and 1, and I think we're going to have it 1st and 10 inside the 50, and they really hadn't stopped us other than the 3rd drive of the game up in that point, kind of middle of the 3rd or late in the 3rd quarter really, and a holding penalty gets back, and we go 3rd and 12. So I thought it was. That was a big penalty. And then the one at the end of the game, it's 3rd and 4. And we've got a play that they got no player for Garrett and on the pull. And I get a false start. So 2 critical penalties there offensively on 3rd down. The positives offensively, fast start. That's something we've done a really good job of in all 3 contests so far. We had several big plays. We averaged 5.2 yards per carry. And that's even with the sacks counted in there. And so those were all positives. I'll give you guys who won our weekly awards here and kind of why, so starting off, our offensive lineman of our award winner for this week, 2nd week in a row, grade out 92% for getting his job done, 90% on technique, highest production point. Zach Frazier, We give a blue collar award each week that we win. That's somebody that kind of does some of the work behind the scenes, maybe doesn't get the notoriety. And we felt like this was fitting this week. He played really well, second highest graded offensive lineman, but just something, being on that inside that program the last 2 years, and then having to been fortunate enough to getting back home here. So our blue collar award winner is Doug Nestor. Special teams award, we gave them to both specialists, Casey Legg and Evan Staley. I thought they were huge in the game. They both earned it. And then defensively, he's Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. He may even, I know he's in consideration for some national awards, but he had 5 tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. So Jared Bartlett won our Defensive Player of the Week. Offensive Player of the Week was Letty Brown, 3 receptions, 35 yards. He had 19 rushes for 161 yards and a touchdown. And just did a nice job. Our Scout Team Players of the Week, which again are critical as we continue to get prepared. Eli Archer, special teams guy, a walk-on freshman here, that tight end that we're excited about. Defensively, Braden Dudley, who played well against LIU and did a really good job getting us prepared for their DNs at Virginia Tech. And offensively, Tomas Rimac, a guy that he'll play a lot of football here. So those are the award winners. And to kind of wrap that one up, great win. I think rivalries are special. I think that was a great atmosphere, and hopefully we can kind of match that as we get into our home schedule here. Moving on, huge challenge this week, as you know, with Oklahoma. We're going to I guess the 6-time defending Big 12 champion. You're just saying that's a lot, right? But 6 times in a row they've won the Big 12 championship. I think it's a great opportunity for our program. ABC, 7:30 Eastern, primetime game, playing one of the most tradition-rich venues in college football. So I think special teams, just kind of give you a preview. If you look at them, I think all 3 of their specialists, their punter, their kicker, and their snapper, are All-American candidates. So I don't know if I need to say a whole lot more about that. They do a great job blocking punts. They've done that over the last 3 years. Offensively, Lincoln does a great job. We have not done a very good job of stopping them in 19 when we played them, or the few years before that. I think Bill Bedenbow, who was here for a good bit, does a great job with their offensive line, and they're their typical Oklahoma offensive line. They're big. They do a great job with their gap run schemes. I think they may have the best receiver group in the country, just in totality. And they got an all Big 12 player at tight end, and oh, by the way, a Heisman Trophy quarterback, right? So they're really talented on offense. Got great scheme and talent, and so it's going to be a challenge for us. Our biggest challenge so far this year, without a doubt. Defensively, I think that Grinch has done a really good job of stabilizing that side of the ball. I think they're playing at a high level. Schematically, he gives you some issues. I think there's a lot of similarities between how they operate their front 6 and how we operate our front 6. Their D-line are difference makers. I mean, across the board. You look at the Winfrey kid who plays inside. You look at Thomas. You look at Benita. I mean, those guys are all high-round NFL draft picks, and we're going to have to really compete hard on the interior part of our offensive line and at tackle, and we're going to have to give our guys the best opportunities to do that. But those are special talent. They're special guys that are playing on their defensive line. And I think the Redmond kid, who's a little bit under maybe doesn't get the same recognition as those 3, I think he's an all Big 12 kind of player too. Really experienced at linebacker and in the secondary as well. So those safeties and those linebackers have been playing a long time, and they know how they've got a great feel for the system that Grinch has in place there. And so it's a challenge in all 3 phases, without a doubt. And they look like what you think Oklahoma's going to look like when you turn on the film. And that's the best way to recognize them. So with that, I'll take questions.
Can you expound on 2 defensive points that you were talking about, one positive, one negative? First of all, the red zone.
Yep.
Why are you guys been so good there? And then the negative in terms of turnovers. How can you create turnovers? Are those things that just happen?
It's well, I think the red zone defense is something that it was not a strength of ours 2 years ago in 19. We were really good at it at Troy. not as good at it in 19 here. It's something we've emphasized from a practice standpoint going back really for the first couple of spring practices we had right when COVID hit, all through the summer workouts we had once we were able to come back, all through fall camp last year. And then we do some kind of red zone work, good on good, every single day that we're in pads. So we've emphasized it a lot. Offensively, our numbers are a little bit misleading because of the I think we had a bad snap against LIU, and maybe we were down there a couple times. But offensively, we've been pretty good even over the last 2 years down there. All right, we need to score touchdowns at a higher rate, but as far as scoring points, we've been pretty decent. So I think a big part of that is just repetitions and practicing and getting comfortable down there because the game is played because you're in condensed spaces. As far as the takeaways, you know, it's a strength of one of our strengths last year, and part of it is we've got to do a better job recovering fumbles. You know, there's an art to that. That's not, you know, we've gone and I think we've had 3 or 4 on the ground this year and we haven't recovered any of them. We finally got one on Saturday, but it was a 4th down, so I don't even know if it showed up as that. But we're falling right on top of the ball, which is, I mean, the ball's oblong. You got to go from the side, right? And you got to use your hands. So that's part of it. I think we got to do a better job of getting our eyes back on some downfield throws in the secondary. That'll help. So that's going to be something that we had a long meeting on it. We talked about it in our team meeting yesterday, talked about it in our staff meeting this morning, and we're going to do some things in practice today and tomorrow to hopefully improve that offensively and then help with takeaways defensively.
So Bartlett, had you seen that? I mean, this wasn't his first good game, but had you seen this sort of, you know, development coming for Jared?
He had a great summer. He had a really good fall camp, and then he did not play as well the first 2 games for whatever reason. Right? He just didn't have a good feel, and then last week he had a great Tuesday and Wednesday's practices were really good, and so you could see he was getting better. You know, I think he's going to go out and have 3 sacks and, you know, 5 tackles and a forced fumble. Probably not, you know. But I did feel like he was going to give us more, and he did. And it's a neat story. He lost a brother this summer to a freak accident, and he really, once that happened, you know, tragedy affects people differently. And once that happened, he's had a renewed focus, kind of a seriousness about his preparation. So I was extremely pleased for him that it paid off in a game situation, much less a rivalry game, in a couple of huge moments for us.
You talked about Casey drilling that 44-yarder. How far has he come? I mean, just from what he was to where he is now.
Yeah, you know, another great story. I mean, you all know that. He didn't play high school football. High school didn't even have football, right? And so, I don't know how many stories there are like that, you know, of people in the United States. There's some Australians that have come over and kicked and punted that didn't play high school football. But, you know, so he's come a long way. You know, he really, when he filled in for Evan in 19, he had some good high points. You know, he made a huge 51-yarder, I believe, at Kansas State, and did a nice job in Evan's replacement. And then when Evan got injured last year in 20, Casey struggled with some accuracy. And the thing I like about Casey is he's really even keel. No moments too big or too small for him. But he's really worked. He's really worked, and he earned the starting job. And going into fall camp, he was probably 3 on the kicking depth chart behind Tyler and behind Evan. And all he did was make kicks, you know. Didn't say a word, didn't ask when he was going to play. All he did was every day during field goal period, he's made kicks. And I finally asked after about 4 or 5 days, I was like, has he missed a kick? And he hadn't missed a kick. He only missed 2 during preseason. And so, I mean, he went out and earned the job and just been really consistent.
Is that the scheme, what the Bennett position is in that defense you have? Is it a product of his athleticism and speed, or is it some of it the guys near him concentrating on it? Is it a combination of all those things?
We let him straight rush more on Saturday than he has. You know, we've been playing some twist games with him, and we let him straight rush. And he's a speed guy, and he's done a really good job understanding dip and drive technique, how to use his body, change the tempos. But that was a big part of it. We let him straight rush, and he asked for it. Credit to him. He told Coach Leslie, he said, you know, we ran a couple up and unders with him, some line stunts with him early in the contest. He said, really, I feel like if let me rush the edge, and he did, and he had great success.
You know, part of that was their tackles. They were rolling guys in and out on that right side. With everything going on your side, how much attention do you pay to personnel and who lives off the field, who's having a good day, and who's not on the other side?
Yeah. So during the game, I mean, we got guys in the press box that are looking at. They had come into the game, Mike, I believe, and I don't. You can go back and check this, but I believe they had rotated their offensive line there at that tackle, kind of similar like what we've done so far at right tackle. But we knew we felt like there were some things we could do. North Carolina had some success rushing the passer. The thing that's really hard is you got to get movement up. You got to get movement interior-wise. You know, like Jared got those sacks, but those sacks don't happen if there's room for Burmeister to move up in the pocket, and there simply wasn't. You know, I say this a lot, and Akeem Messidor is playing at an extremely, extremely high level. You know, and he may not show up on the stat sheet sometimes, but trust me when I tell you, he's playing at an extremely high level, and he's getting vertical push on that pocket, so there wasn't any room for him to move up. Therefore, Bartlett was able to come around the edge. And Bartlett did a good job winning. I'm not taking anything away from him, but we weren't paying as much attention to who was in, Mike, is we wanted to make sure that we had push up the middle because we didn't want to give Burmeister straight ahead, you know, because as you saw on the big scramble, you know, he's tough to tackle in space, and he out-athleted us a couple times.
How did you approach putting your secondary together after you lost two guys that you probably didn't want to lose? Let's take that way.
Yeah, you know.
Matthews in particular, how did he work in there?
So, you know, you see this a lot, and y'all have been around, most of you have been around for several years, and you see this in college football. Junior college players their second year are usually much improved, and that's been for sure the case with Jackie. And part of that is he's worked with Alonzo and Scotty Young really going back into January after the season when they came back, and those three have really worked and put in some extra time and really earned the opportunity to have successful seasons. And so he's really worked at it as far as his mental approach too, because we're playing him in multiple positions. He's playing spear for us. We go to our dime package. He's playing the basically the will linebacker's position. We go to our dime. Then he's playing corner, and he played all those positions through 3 games. So his mental approach has been much improved as well. The thing that I like about Jackie is, man, he plays one speed. He is one of the best strikers we have, and what I mean by that is when he comes downhill, he uses good technique, and he's coming downhill. He's not a guy that's diving at ankles. I mean, he's running through contact, and he's got a little presence about him that maybe some of the guys on that side of the ball don't have. As just far as, hey, you know, he's got a little bounce to him, and so I really like the way he plays. But you could see this coming a little bit too. He had a great spring. He got injured in fall camp and missed about, probably 7 to 10 days. So it took probably LIU game for him to kind of get back to speed. He made some flash plays in Maryland, but then he played really well. He played really well in some big moments on Saturday.
You had, I guess, 8 quarters against 2 really good quarterbacks, similar size. Is that enough to get ready for Rattler, you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw where Maryland's quarterback, I know what his name is, but I'm avoiding it so I don't butcher it. All right, so I'm avoiding it. But anyway, he's got one of the highest quarterback ratings in the country right now, and he played extremely efficient versus us. The thing about Rattler is his arm talent is so unique. That's he can move. He extends plays. They can run him if they want to run him. They choose not to. But he has one of the strongest arms and one of the quickest releases that I've seen in however long I've been doing it.
Laughlin, did you get even more snaps out of him Saturday than you probably thought you would?
We did, but we played more 12 personnel than we knew we were going to play some. But we got into it and we were having success with it, so that's probably why I snapped. We were trying to keep it around 25 to 30. Ended up playing 39 snaps in the game, he there were some moments that he did a really good job, and there were some moments that looked like he hadn't practiced or played. I mean, because last Tuesday and Wednesday were the first time he's had any contact. He practiced a little bit LIU week, and then he practiced last week, but Tuesday and Wednesday, the only days he had contact, and that's a contact position. And so he'll continue to get better. He helped us. He was a factor. He's one of the reasons why we ran the football better. Because we had his presence, but also our footwork and our how we blocked and the demeanor we had up front was significantly better than the first 2 weeks.
You mentioned on Saturday that there's a science in handling two quarterbacks, and especially when they're very different. How do you handle it? What is that science?
Yeah, well, the thing, there's only so many reps to go along, and so you got to make sure that, because there's very little crossover with these two. Okay, and so, and that's good and bad. It's probably more difficult for the defenses, all right? But there's some challenges when you're putting together a game plan, because it's really important that you keep everything for the offensive line the same, because that's the most important piece. Plus, we've had some issues up there that, I thought we did a much better job in the run game. We had some protection at tackle a little bit, but we protected pretty well versus two really good defensive ends versus Virginia Tech. But you can't ask them to do a bunch of different things schematically. It's not fair to them because you don't have enough time to rep it. And so that's where the challenge comes in is, okay, how much can you do? How can we present differently to the defense with each quarterback? And so there is a challenge, and how you rotate them within a game. It's kind of, there's a feel to it. And Garrett, I don't know if I got a total feel for him in game yet. I thought he did some really good things on Saturday. There's a couple that weren't so good, but I thought he ran the ball well. And he can throw it. We hadn't asked him to do it as much, but he can. I mean, he's got a really strong arm. But there's science to it. We don't have it completely figured out yet, but we're working through it.
Jalen Anderson on the sideline on Saturday, where is he at now, and what are your expectations for him this season?
Yeah, so Jalen, he got cleared, and he's here, enrolled in school, and started working out last week. This will obviously be a redshirt year for him. And so what we're doing is working towards, getting him off to a successful start in school, and at the same time, we want to get him in a position where he can compete in January. So he joined our developmental lifting group with the other guys that we anticipate redshirting, but we're excited he's here. We are, and he's been really fun to have through the last week and a half.
Back to Jarrett and Garrett, is there some value to the situational things that they can do? Clearly, Jarrett does things better than Garrett, but there are some things Garrett does that could be better than Jarrett.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, for sure, and I think that's why we'll continue to play both and continue to have plans for both. And it's the good thing too for those guys is they're really close. They're really close. They get along, and they've been good for each other in the room.
Could you do that if they weren't close?
It'd be harder. Yeah, it'd be harder. I mean, it would.
You followed Jackie in high school?
So I followed him his freshman year at Gulf Coast. Jackie Matthews, I've said this 3 times now. It sounds like a recording, but he was a high school quarterback. So he played high school quarterback at Pinson Valley. And Pinson Valley is a tradition-rich program right outside Birmingham. But so anyway, he played quarterback as a junior, and then Patrick Nix got the job at Pinson Valley. Well, Patrick has a son that's a pretty good quarterback. He's played pretty well for Auburn, and so Bo comes in and Patrick tells a story, but that Jackie wanted to play quarterback. Then he eventually figured it out, and they had a great senior season. He had a great senior season. I believe they won a state championship that year. I may be wrong. They may have just made a deep run in the playoffs, but he ended up playing receiver, and they got him the ball, and he played DB, and then and so I started really grabbing I knew about the kid then, but he really didn't register on our radar until he got to Gulf Coast. And when he got to Gulf Coast, at Troy we knew about him, and then obviously signing him here.
He did win a state title. He was like 5-0 as the quarterback that year too.
Yeah, because Bo got hurt. Yeah.
When you see that, a guy who bounces around but still successful,
He still thinks he's a quarterback too, Mike. So
does it tell you anything though that like he's had what some might consider setbacks? I mean, you might see kids foul like that, then he ends up at junior college and plays a million positions and they're undefeated, and he makes a huge play that kind of says something.
yeah, well, that's what I was going to tell you. So like, wins a high school state championship, plays multiple positions, goes to Gulf Coast, he plays every position in the secondary, and they win a national championship his second year. You know, I do think there's something about that. And he was really a selfless player in junior college, which you don't see a ton. You know, because he played free safety, he played corner, he played nickel. And I'm talking about within his second season there. You know, they played a really high level, and I think they beat Lackawanna in the national championship game.